0-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. Struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball. Brad Lynch does it again and stays perfect for the 2008 season. 48 for 48 in save opportunities, and let the city celebrate.
Aloha and hello out there, everybody. What's going on? Miho, as always.
With bags.
For the Too Close to Call podcast, and this is the Philly Fanatic Pod, and yes, we know we missed the Brewers series, and this one is the Rockies series one, and it's a couple of days late. You're going to have to forgive me. I was putting in a little bit of double duty with the Ryan Presley interview to making sure it was high and tight for all you listeners
High
out
and
there.
tight. You're going to get two series in one podcast. A twofer.
A double dip, if you will.
Double dip.
The Phillies, game one against the Brewers, had their best win of the year, Pags, even though Aaron Nola, 3 innings, 3 runs, 84 pitches, did not look like the Aaron Nola of the starts previous. We thought he was turning the corner. Little bit of a setback on this day.
Yeah, it gave up a double and then a triple in the first inning. I mean, Yelich getting a double, whatever. That happens
That's
to
allowed,
everybody. But and I don't know. It seems like when the weather is not the greatest, he struggles, and that doesn't bode well for coming months.
I did hear from Ryan Press off the record as we were leaving the game that the balls have changed this year. So I've heard that on some other podcasts. They're talking about the laces are even lower than before, and there's not as much mud on the ball. So he literally said it's like throwing a cue ball. The more laces, the more grip, the more spin you have. Well, they cut it down even more. Also, less aerodynamics. They throw a little bit harder. The ball goes a little bit further, a little more offense.
Right.
And Nola's curveball and his grip hasn't really adjusted to this yet. And the cold weather, like he said, doesn't help because when he gets a sweat going, you get a little more grip on the ball and you can sling it. But playoff baseball, not in the middle of summer, Pags.
Right.
So a little bit of concern there for me looking into the future here. Aaron Nola in October could be a storyline to watch there that will disappear over the next couple of months.
In that game, Cesar continues to make it hard for us to even want to trade him.
He's not going anywhere, man. That dude's a professional hitter. I know if we're bouncing around here a little bit, but him and Gene Segura, the only two over 300. Cesar's slugging percentage is higher than some of the other guys who you wouldn't think it is. He's already got 4 home runs, a couple of triples type of thing, man. It's crazy. Kingery, and we're starting to see this based on the delay here, but he's flirting with center field, no double, because like you just said, man, Cesar ain't coming off the field.
No, dude, he mashes. Could you start to see maybe having a Segura Hernandez kind of start of the lineup and then put McCutchen down? See if because McCutchen's struggling a little bit.
Well, McCutchen's close to the lead in the league in walks.
Yeah.
So his OBP is still half decent for up there, and he's a professional hitter, sees a lot of pitches. But they did move Hernandez above Herrera to protect Real Muto.
Right.
Which gives, again, now you got to throw to Real Muto because the guy behind him's hitting over 300 and not 220-something like Herrera. So your 7/8 of Herrera and Franco are the only two that are really like, come on, guys, let's pick this up a little bit. So the next 3 games,
let's
Pags,
cruise through those quick.
Right, man? The best win of the year followed by the 3 shittiest games of the year. What were they? 6-1, 5-2, and 11-3. Some tidbits here real quick. Eichhoff, back to Jared Eichhoff. You know, obviously he's not going to be outstanding just because he's a low 90s guy, but the starting pitching across the board, man. 3 innings for Nola, 4 innings for Eichhoff. The next guy was Arrieta, 6 innings, and he was the longest one, and he gave up 5 runs. The guy after him, Eflin, 5 innings. And that's not what you want, taxing your bullpen the first 4 games or middle 4 games out of a stretch of 17 in a row.
No. And with the quality of lineups we're going to be facing as we go on, we're really going to need some of these guys to go 6-7 innings.
Seriously, they got to pick it up, and that's the reason why they were out to this hot start is, you know, the starting pitching was very quality, but the offense a little sporadic, like we said, man, 3-2 and 1 run, I think it was, so not a lot showing up there. Your typical guys after this series. Let's see here. Harper still struggling a little bit in that series. He was all the way down to 221 afterwards. Like we mentioned, Hernandez and Segura, your top 2, but
Let's fast forward.
Yeah, let's go to the good stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, and just like that, that's why we love the sport of baseball because, hey, how you feeling? Shitty. Well, now how you feeling? Really good. All right.
Friday night, Cole Irvin goes out, throws 6 innings, 3 runs, 2 Ks, and the offense comes back a little bit.
5-4, a good win for them. Cole Irvin, honestly, overperformed for my expectations. I know he had a guy thrown out at home plate. McCutchen threw a guy out at the dish. Another strong play in left field for him. I did notice it started to look like in this series, Bryce Harper made a little bit of a mechanical change with his hands. I noticed he's not resting the bat on his shoulder until the pitcher goes. If you notice, he rests and then he loads over his head. He kind of does that hitch. Well, he's starting his hands higher and closer to his ear, which for me, it's changing, the launch angle to the baseball because he was out far and I think he was really coming around the ball. He falls off as it is because that's just part of his violent swing is that nature of really getting the hips going. So if he can keep his hands in a little bit more, it'll allow him to stay inside the baseball just a hair longer. And I think we saw this result itself Saturday when you were there because that home run he hit wasn't to right or right center. It was one of the first ones that he hit to kind of dead center, left center, out to frickin' Ashburn Alley, man.
First pitch, freaking walloped it, and I missed it.
And Pags was finishing his last beer.
Fucking Anthony Pagliaro.
Yeah, Tony, bastard.
Game was very entertaining. It was an old school baseball game.
Well, it was a warmer day, and Aaron Nola enjoyed himself.
12 strikeouts, fucking dealing. Gabe, I thought, was going to pinch hit for him in the bottom of the 5th. Send him back out there. Rockies get a run. They load the bases up, and Sir Anthony gets out of it, which was very nice to see.
Yeah, it was a curious point in the game for Kapler to send him back out there for the 7th, and to Kapler's credit, that is something that he's adjusting to this year as opposed to years past. He was always kind of known for that short trigger, going to the bullpen, going to the matchups. Well, he's even been burned on it a little bit this year. Earlier, Arrieta talked him into letting him in for another inning, and I think gave up a run a couple of hitters later. Here he runs Nola out, and I think it went leadoff double, and they pulled him or walk or something like that. But he's trusting in his guys and his leadership more so, I feel like, to just kind of say, hey, this is the pulse of the team. We have to trust you guys and not the computer says this, so this is what we're going to do. He's living a little more in the moment. And I'll give him credit for it because the results maybe haven't been positive every time, but if you're noticing, Pags, he's not catching as much shit for it, even though it's not working out because fucking Aaron Nola is good. So if you're going to go down with Nola.
Because he would have gotten so much shit if one of the bullpen came out and gave up a run and they were like,
put
what?
in Alvarez or somebody like that, and he gives up a
But they win
bomb.
on a pass ball by the pitcher, and Segura steals home.
Amazing.
And it's like, okay, that was the game-winning run.
All right.
Neris goes in and throws 2 shutout innings. And
that was crazy there, too. He comes in, throws the 8th inning, and you're expecting Neshek to kind of come in to close it out. And then you see him coming out of the dugout, and it's like, okay, I guess we got ourselves a 2-inning closer now all of a sudden. But I don't know, man. The bullpen usage, that's still a little bit tricky. Something Gabe is still learning, continuing to evolve. The next day, Phillies with a comeback win in that one. They were down 5-3 going into the bottom of the 6th and showed a little bit of resolve, man. I'm not so sure the 2018 Phillies would have performed the same way there. I'm thinking they got a little more fight in them this year.
Well, you see that we had the same record about last year as we do this year, but it's just a different feel with this team. Last year kind of felt like fool's gold. You were like, when is this team going to come back to earth? And now you see, I mean, we're down 5-3. Real Muto comes in on a pinch hit, hits a 2-run bomb. Then Harper comes up in the same inning, hits a 2-run bomb. Boom, 7-5. We're winning, sweeping a series.
First sweep since the Atlanta series. First one of the year. And Colorado's a good offensive team. Their pitching isn't great, which, again, the Phillies kind of showed, scoring 6 runs, 7 runs it was. But the offense, man, like you mentioned, JT Realmuto starting to feel a little bit comfortable. He's always been fantastic behind the dish, but the offense is coming around. And I think, like we mentioned, a little bit of that has to do with Cesar hitting 300 and being moved behind him. Right now, nobody's talking about it. And the one nice thing that has not happened yet, Pags, is Harper and Hoskins have both not been locked in. at the same time. Because Hoskins did not have a strong homestand, but it kind of went under the radar because, like you mentioned, Harper homers in back-to-back games, Real Muto homers. So it's not, hey, what's up with Hoskins? He's 0 for 12 because, like you mentioned, in 2018, he was the only guy capable of carrying you for a week at a time.
If they get on the same page, you know what's going to happen eventually. This lineup is insane, man. Segura is an all-star. He is leading
He's
the
fun
NL
to watch hit, isn't he?
in first inning hits. I think he's got like 19 of them in the first inning. Dude, this dude, he'll take it one way. He'll hit whatever the fuck he gets.
Hates striking out. One of those guys that still is just like, nope, not doing it. Don't care about launch angle, putting the ball in play.
Do we have him locked up for another year?
I think it's 2 more years.
2 more years?
It's a decent amount of money.
Dude,
and he's getting older. So there is that, okay, when's it going to fall off? It's certainly not this year.
No.
We've seen, and I think the timing aligns for our next kind of prospect to come up who's in high A or double A for 2 to 3 years, and that transition should happen because, you know, a shortstop in the middle of his 30s getting solid coin typically isn't ideal, but this is what we needed because we saw last year. Crawford was in like AAA still for the beginning of this year. Kingery got better, but he's not a shortstop. And like you mentioned, dude, you just can't replace plus 300 average at the top of the lineup, getting on that often in front of Harper in the first inning.
We got 3 guys in 300. I mean, I know Kingery is batting 375, but he's been missing for a month now. But it's nice to see, man. And Harper seems to be getting his groove back. Real Muto getting his groove back. And like you said, hopefully Hoskins can catch fire the same amount of time as Harper and Real Muto. And it's like, who do you pitch to?
It's wild. And the next 2 weeks are going to be telling because we teased it, but they got 4 in Chicago moving forward here, followed by Milwaukee, who just kicked their ass. Now we're going out there. St. Louis after them, and then a trip to L.A. So 3 first-place teams, or at least 2 of them, and the other 2 could be in first place because they're good ball clubs too, the 3 of them from the Central. So I guess out of those, let's see, 4, 7, 10, it looks like 13, 14 games. 500 ball, 7-7, 8-6, something like that would be a solid stretch there.
Yeah, because you got the Braves now kind of
figuring it out.
They brought that kid up, Austin Riley up. He's playing well.
He's a big boy, and they moved Acuna from the 3-hole to the leadoff, and since then he's taken off and seems to be re-energized.
It's kind of taking form. I know it's too early to tell, but the Mets got swept by the Marlins over the
Mets
weekend.
And Nationals are both horrible, and their managers are horrible. And yeah, that's a circus. So I agree with you. It is going to be Phillies, Braves, but it is kind of looking like that wild card. Both of them may come out of that Central. Atlanta and Philly will be there, but it is not written in pen that both of them are in.
That's why these series against the Cubs and the Brewers, man, and the Cardinals, it's like
stay afloat,
win some of these games,
stay afloat, play at 500, a little bit better, and then get into those 30 straight divisional games where you get hot, beat those teams we just talked about, walk out of there 20-10, and boom, you're sitting pretty good into the All-Star break.
We're ready to rock, baby.
That's it. So thanks for listening, as always. This is Miho with Pags with the Philly Fanatics. The Fightin' Phil's still in first place, and it is almost Memorial Day.
I love it.
How about it? Baseball is back, baby.
It's becoming a red city. You'll get us all the way into football.
About to
midway
be
football
summertime, and they're the only circus in town, Pags.
Share it with all your friends. Let us know what you think, and we'll catch you after this Cubs series. Later.
Peace.
April Fools. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know what to go with. Basically, what's happening here is I didn't get to edit this podcast by the time the Phils got done with 4 games in Wrigley, so we are compounding that post-series into this post-series to give you guys a little bit longer version of this Philly Fanatics podcast.
We're giving you a 3-for right here. So let's just jump right into it. Game 1, Arrieta back in Chicago with the guy that replaced him, Yu Darvish. And it wasn't vintage Arrieta, but the Phils squeak it out and get a win there.
Yeah, Arrieta battled through that one. He had a couple of bases-loaded jams he was able to work around for ultimately, which was a good-looking box score of 6 innings and 1 run. And it's kind of funny, man, because that's how misleading baseball can get, because Darvish on the other side was absolutely lights out for 5 innings and winning and dominating the ball game. And then you give up a 3-spot in 1 inning and, 6 innings, 3 runs. Oh, look at that. He still sucks more than Arrieta. We should have signed Arrieta.
Yeah, and that's the game. Segura has the clutch hit in the 9th to tie the game up, and then Real Muto comes up in the 10th and wallops a home run to give the Phils the 5-4 win.
Segura extended that hit streak with that blooper in the 9th, but then tries to extend it into a double, Pags. Like, come on. I mean, we're going to have a guy on second and or first and third. Harper's coming up. Like, there's no reason for you to try to stretch that and get thrown out there. Ultimately, they got away with it. Like you mentioned,
they got the win, buddy.
They got the win, but like that's the type of shit, dude. Like, what are you doing, man? Like, there's no reason for that. But Cesar Hernandez, 3 more hits. That man's turning into a machine. He's hitting 310.
Like we said earlier in this podcast, we're not getting rid of him anytime soon. Jump to game 2 here, and this one shows kind of Gabe learned a little bit from overusing the bullpen over the weekend, because we're throwing Nicasio out there in the 9th up 2-1, and I don't feel too confident about that.
Nicasio had been throwing better as of late. His last 2 or 3 outings had been improved, and his velocity was back in the mid-90s with a little bit of run, so I didn't hate it, but why wasn't Neshek or Neris in this game? What was going on there? Was this the Neshek game?
So after the game, Neshek shook off Gabe and said he wasn't ready. Gabe says to the media that it was a lat problem and he wasn't ready to pitch today. And then Neshek comes out and is just like, no, I just wasn't fucking ready because he called too late to the bullpen. And it turned into this whole thing. Neshek's on Twitter just bashing at all of his haters, and all the Phillies fans are going after Neshek. And it's just like, this Neshek guy seems to be a little bit of a head case.
So Neshek's one of those guys who's not a tremendous dude. At least that's kind of known within the baseball circles. He's a little bit funky. He collects baseball cards, which he likes to have everybody sign to the point where, like, he annoys the shit out of other players to sign these things, and they kind of brush him off, and then he calls them assholes, and it's a little bit of a back and forth. And up until, April of this year, Pags, he was at one point, what was he, like 60 out of 65 scoreless appearances in a Phillies uniform? The guy was unbelievable, and you lived with the fact that he very much, no, I don't throw 3 days in a row. Like, no, I don't feel like throwing today because I'm not throwing today, because when he did throw, he was lights out. But now that he's getting hit around a little bit, and spoiler alert, things did not go well for him in Game 4. We're talking about a banner week here for Mr. Neshek.
Yeah, it was a tough week for old Pat, and it was a tough day for Cole Irvin in Game 3 because he went against the favorite Cole in Philadelphia, and neither Cole seemed to play their best game in Game 3.
Hamels was all over the place watching that one a little bit. He only had 2 walks, but it just wasn't sharp. A lot of foul balls, a lot of deep counts, 6 strikeouts, 2 walks, 9 hits, really all over the place. Cole Irvin was honestly kind of what I thought Cole Irvin was. He just got hurt by the long ball, Pags. He gave up 7 earned runs. Well, one of them was a 3-run homer, and one of them was a grand slam. So There's your 7. It's just 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. 6 is more strikeouts than I thought he would have. And fast forward here, Pags, as we jump around a little bit just because we're on Cole Irvin. After Game 4 today, as we're recording close to 10:30 here at night, Cole Irvin has since been sent back to AAA, to where now Tuesday's starter of next week will be either Vince Velasquez or Nick Pivetta. Who are you going with, Pags? Because those are the 2 options currently out there that the Phillies have said it's probably one of these 2 guys.
Short here, I will say, and we could get into a whole nother conversation about this, but what I see is Pivetta coming in, and I think Velasquez can really help you out in the bullpen with some of the woes that we have. And if Robertson doesn't come back and he still has that trouble that he's dealing with, I think you got to talk to Vinny and be like, Vinny, you can really help us. We need you here. Bring them both up.
Gabe teased that. Well, Vince would come off the injured list, so I don't know who else they would have to move. But Gabe did tease that, and Vince looked really good in his 1 relief appearance this year against St. Louis. So wrapping it up, man, they take Game 4, high-scoring affair. They kick 3 field goals. The Cubs can only muster up a touchdown, and the Phils take this one 9-7, and Mr. Neris did everything he could to blow this one in the 9th.
Nice to see Nola get another win there. Nola
How about that guy?
5-0 right now.
You remember when I was talking before the year and I said Nola may not lose a game this year? I didn't think that was coming with a 4.53 ERA Pax. Okay, I understand the guy improved to 5-0, but 5 innings, 3 runs, that ain't exactly screaming Cy Young here.
Hey, he got the win, and you know who I'm loving? I liked him out in Pittsburgh is Andrew McCutchen, man. He is hitting the ball. He had 5 RBIs in this 4-game series.
He's a pro ball player, dude. May not be an MVP anymore, but still very much a big league ball player.
Very underrated signing there. All our signings have just been great.
They're all professionals. It's exactly what it is. I know they discussed it last year that they need more professional at-bats. They need less Jorge Alfualos up there swinging from their ass. Segura, that at-bat in the 9th inning where he hits an up-and-in fastball over the first baseman's head, you can only do that if literally you're just like, don't fucking strike out. Like, just put the ball in play. McCutchen's the same way. Walks a lot, sees a lot of pitches. Harper's, he's, it's another hit. That's a couple games in a row. He's had some hits. I'm okay with that. Hoskins, Real Muto hit a ball all the way onto the street. That was amazing. Crushed it over left field into the street there in Chicago. And a couple of bench guys producing, man. It was a nice win by the ball club, like I mentioned, after a walk-off the night before to come back, and they were up a lot until the Phillies bullpen, in the 7th and 9th decided to, as we mentioned, Nishak and Neris were like, hey, guys, here's your blood pressure. It's going through the roof.
Yeah, and on this 17-game stretch where we're talking about just brutal stretch of plays, we're 6-5 right now, man. And,
there you go.
I'll take that.
6 games left. We have St. Louis. No, we have Milwaukee followed by St. Louis. But everybody out there, this time we're really signing off. We appreciate you listening. Enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. Watch those Phils take on the Brew Crew and hopefully perform a little bit better than last weekend.
Yeah, go Phils.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball. Brad Lynch does it again and stays perfect for the 2008 season. 48 for 48 in save opportunities, and let the city celebrate.